Have you ever wanted to know what it feels like to perform music? Do you ever imagine yourself as a rock star, a pop icon, or a rap legend? Do you dream of forming a band with your friends just to take the stage and bless the crowd with a perfectly executed song? Yeah, me too. Which is why I'm currently so obsessed with... If you're like me and never really learned how to play an instrument, then you have no idea what it's like to have that creative relationship with music. And sure, while you can spend tons of time and money on music lessons that might teach you to play a single instrument, as Kimberly Sweet Brown Wilkins once said, ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
But that's where rhythm games come in. They can provide that deeper connection to music through interactivity. That process of performing the song with your own inputs does an amazing job of replicating the feeling of actually playing an instrument, since most games will mute the song or end it if you fail to hit the correct notes. Think of games like Rock Band or Guitar Hero. These games are very clearly trying to provide players with the agency and experience of being a famous musician. For a while, these games were a smash hit, bringing together all kinds of people under a shared love of playing music. But as is typical in this industry, greed and oversaturation slowly ate away at the mainstream appeal of this genre. Who could have guessed that? But the year is 2024, and now we have... You see, the reason I wanted to make this video is... Well, it's actually a little embarrassing. You see, I have to admit, I actually love Fortnite Festival. So real quick, in case you've been living under a rock, the free-to-play Battle Royale Fortnite recently added a bunch of new game modes aside from its Battle Royale. And probably the most popular of these new modes is Fortnite Festival, which is basically just a Guitar Hero clone, but it's free to play and uses your existing controller or keyboard. And while nothing is really novel about this idea, it's executed in a way that makes it one of the most fun ways to hang out with your friends online. First of all, it being free to play means pretty much anyone can join in, and during gameplay you're all contributing to the same song, singing along, dancing on stage, seeing who can get the highest score. But all this time while playing that game, I kept thinking how much cooler would it be if I could actually be standing there on that stage. If only there was a game that provided a similar experience, but in VR, in full immersion, in... It's right behind me, isn't it? VR has a way of taking almost any flat screen game idea and making it 10 times better simply through full visual immersion. For example, the critically acclaimed rhythm game THUMPER has a direct VR port, and it's honestly one of the best ways to play it. I've heard the same thing about REZ and its VR version, but these are very artistically abstract games that aren't exactly trying to immerse you in a realistic experience or fantasy. Which is why I'm so glad I found BANDSPACE. This game brings that fun cooperative band experience into VR, complete with motion control instruments, awesome songs and stages, and a crowd that goes wild for you. They love us. Listen to them.
I'm gonna crowd surf.
Jump out there. Seriously, that makes you feel so cool. There are 4 different instruments to play as well: guitar, bass, keyboard, and drums, each with their own control scheme. Oh, and did I mention this game is free to play? There's a rotating list of free songs. I believe it changes weekly, but if you want to buy all the songs, the season pass is only like $20, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I just remember it being pretty surprisingly cheap and only a one-time purchase. The only real downside to this game is the lack of recognizable songs here. I can imagine that being a big deal to some people, but personally I didn't mind too much. I actually really liked some of these new songs, and I ended up looking some of them up on Spotify because they're so catchy. This one's my favorite song. Like, this song actually gets stuck in my head. That's another thing I love about rhythm games. They can totally expand your music taste by almost forcing you to become familiar with different genres and artists. The act of playing a song in a rhythm game cements that melody in your head so much more than just listening to it, because the game requires you to participate in the beat of that song. Similarly, you could be reintroduced to a familiar song, but with a much deeper level of appreciation after playing through it. This is what happens to me basically anytime Beat Saber releases a new music pack, specifically the recent Daft Punk DLC. That was awesome. I used to listen to Daft Punk as a kid because I was obsessed with the movie Tron Legacy. I barely understood or appreciated the music itself, it just sounded cool and futuristic to me. But now, when a 3-dimensional virtual representation of their music plays according to my physical movements, I can't help but appreciate that music even more now. Games like BANDSPACE, where you can choose the specific instrument you play, can do this on a whole other level by letting you experience playing the song from multiple perspectives. This is especially awesome when a song has a sick guitar solo, so you specifically choose guitar to play that section. I love that. But really, the magic of BANDSPACE is this: standing on a huge stage in front of a cheering crowd and jamming out alongside your friends. There is simply no comparing the difference between looking at a 2D screen pressing buttons on a controller and being totally immersed on the stage playing an instrument with your own hands. You see, I love virtual reality because it allows you to experience and try things that might otherwise be impossible. I highly doubt I'll ever actually get to shred guitar on stage to a sold-out crowd, but in VR I can get a taste of that dream. And that is only part of the reason why VR rhythm games are so incredible. I haven't even mentioned how the combination of visual immersion and motion control inputs can lead to the The term flow state describes a mental state in which a person is completely focused on a single task or activity. They are directing all of their attention towards the task, and they do not experience many thoughts about themselves or their performance. Now, this is not a unique phenomenon. It can happen in sports, in school, and flat screen games where you're the last teammate alive and you have to clutch up, but there's something different about that feeling in VR. You see, playing a game in VR, to me at least, is like the equivalent of seeing a movie in a theater. When you're in that dark room with the only source of light being the huge projector screen, it's pretty easy to get immersed because it cuts out any external distractions and lets you fully experience the story. A VR headset does a similar thing, but for video games. By fully immersing your field of view, you are capable of fully directing your attention to the task at hand. Not that you can't do that with flat screen games, but it's a lot easier when the game takes up your entire field of view. And often that level of focus is necessary on the harder difficulties of a game like Beat Saber. I literally can't think about anything other than the instinctive knowledge that right hand blue, left hand red. Other than that, my mind is totally empty and I'm just reacting to the notes faster than I even think should be possible. And man, is that a cool feeling. It almost feels therapeutic having to be fully immersed in your activity without the time for any secondary thoughts to disrupt your flow. Unlike how I'm going to disrupt the flow of this video with an ad transition. That's right, this video is sponsored by KIWI Design, one of the most trusted sellers of VR accessories that I know of, and I know quite a few. So when KIWI Design reached out to me saying they loved my content and wanted to support it, I happily agreed to recommend some of their products that I think genuinely enhance your VR experience. I've said many times one of the first accessories I recommend getting for your Quest 3 is a battery head strap. The KIWI Design battery head strap has a 6400 mAh battery, which adds about 2 to 4 hours of extra playtime. Now that might not sound like a lot, but the Quest 3's base battery life is only 2 hours to begin with, so with this you've doubled it. But the secret benefit to a battery head strap like this is how it more evenly distributes the weight of your VR headset around your head. Instead of all the weight of the device being on your face, this battery actually relieves a lot of that pressure by weighting the back of the headset. Plus, the extra cushions back there are super comfortable. While there are cheaper battery head straps out there, I personally feel a lot more comfortable buying from a brand I recognize and trust. So thanks again to KIWI Design for sponsoring my content. I'll have a referral link down below and use discount code VIRTUALBRO for 5% off. Now let's get back to... You see, what sets the VR flow state apart from flat screen flow, oh, that's a cool name. Someone trademarked that. Flat screen flow. Is the involvement of your body. Has a game ever forced you to physically dance before? No, not like that. Okay, that actually does count, but the example I was thinking of is Dance Dance Revolution. You see, DDR can pretty much only be played in an arcade, which means in public, which means in front of other people. I don't know about you, but I'm not built for that. Some people have that confidence or skill to perform this game for a crowd, but honestly, I was too embarrassed to ever try if even a single person was watching. But VR is a much more personal experience. You can play in the comfort of your own room where you can dance to stay on beat, blast the volume as loud as you want, and not a soul can judge you. Not even yourself, because you can't even see what you look like. And even if you're thinking, no, that won't be me. I won't be dancing in my room wearing a VR headset on my face like an idiot. These motion control inputs mean that these rhythm games can force you to dance whether you want to or not. Performing the motions required to complete a certain Beat Saber song can feel like dance choreography. And it's so much more fun when you lean into that. Although to be fair, on the hardest difficulties of Beat Saber, you kind of lose that dance-like quality because of how quickly the notes are flying by you. It almost makes me wish someone designed a game like this, but specifically designed to make you dance. Oh, you mean SYNTH? For the longest time, I thought this game was just a Beat Saber clone not worth my time. Huge mistake. Huge. Colossal, really, because you need to do yourself a favor right now. Get Synth Riders, play the Muse Experience DLC, literally some of the coolest visuals I've seen in VR. Gave me chills. Also, the controller haptics in this game add so much to the feeling of being immersed in the music. I also love this feature that lets you increase the size of your playable area. If you have a lot of open space where you play VR, this makes it so that you can take advantage of all that space by increasing the area where notes can spawn. That makes it a lot more active and movement involved. Now, you might be watching all this rhythm game gameplay thinking, that looks exhausting.
I tried to keep it together, but I couldn't. My shoulders are so dead. Please.
And yeah, it definitely can be. But that's actually why there's so many games in this genre specifically dedicated to cardio fitness. There's like a lot of those. I don't know why there's so many, but I imagine that's a super fun way to work out. Real quick, I have a couple more recommendations. Unplugged air guitar is insanely cool because it also takes advantage of another one of VR's unique features, hand tracking. I will say it doesn't feel amazing not having any sort of physical or haptic feedback to your inputs, but pinching that intangible guitar pick and using all 4 fingers independently to select notes is insanely cool. So if your controllers aren't working and you're looking for a hand tracking rhythm game, Marcus on my Patreon, this game is absolutely worth it. Great song selection too. But maybe guitars aren't really your thing. Maybe you prefer to... This game is worth it if you really want to play these particular songs.
No. No. No.
Otherwise, BANDSPACE has very similar gameplay for free, so it's up to you. Feel free to defend Smash Drums in the comments though if you've tried it. Maybe it's got more features and it's better than I gave it credit for. But anyways, I hope this video at least somewhat piqued your interest in trying VR rhythm games. There are seriously so many different ones on Quest that I'm sure you'll find something to love. If you're still struggling with VR game recommendations though, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to suggest some more specific games. But that's all I have for now though. Thanks again to KIWI Design and my Patreon supporters for making this video possible. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you haven't already. I'm Virtual Bro, and thanks for watching. If you're still watching, thank you. Have a great day.